Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, Anurag.
Good. So guys, today's class will be about deployments, and we will learn about different deployment models, how to choose those models. Okay, and we'll show in last class we created a hello world API, right? So in that hello world API, we will deploy it on Cloud Hub, and we will see with different options how in how many ways we can deploy our API to Cloud Hub. Okay, so this we're gonna cover today. So first, I will start with the different deployment models. Okay, so there are total 3 deployment models, fully cloud-based, fully customer-hosted, and hybrid model. So MuleSoft offers these 3 different type of deployment models. So it every time when we start with MuleSoft, so we need to make a decision while choosing the right deployment model, because that is very important, and it depends on several factors that will help you to decide the deployment environment. So like based on customer current infrastructure, its budget. Okay, so we can decide which deployment option or model we need to select. But before understanding these three, I want to I want to let you know three basic concepts, that is runtime engine, control plane, and runtime plane. Okay, so runtime engine we already covered, like it is a Mule runtime engine that is used to host and run Mule applications, similar to an application server. Okay, and second is control plane and runtime plane. So first I will tell you runtime plane. It includes Mule runtime engine, anypoint connectors, and runtime services. And control plane, it includes anypoint exchange, anypoint design center, and anypoint management center. So this is a kind of diagram that is differentiating what is control plane and what is runtime plane. What is control plane components? What are the components in the runtime plane? This is most important. I would say it is most important to know about control plane and runtime plane, because when you choose a deployment model, these two things are very important to know. Okay, so what we say. So first of all, I will explain you what is control plane. Okay, so anypoint platform. The anypoint platform is a platform as a service solution from MuleSoft, where you can create, manage, secure, and deploy your APIs and connect your application to form a structured application network. Okay, so uh, anypoint platform categorized in two different sections, like control plane and runtime plane. Okay, one moment. Okay, so control plane, it is kind of a web application that helps in controlling different features of anypoint platform, like design center, management center, anypoint exchange. So sorry. So this is like control plane. So you know about the design center. Let me open view. So that we already saw. This is the design center where we created our RAML. We created our API specification. So that was the design center. So API designer, that is having like API designer and flow designer. So API designer that enables you to create API specification, API fragments using RAML and OS. Okay. So Flow Designer, this enables you to create basic Mule API with simple business logic, as it does not support connectors such as API Kit router, exception handling, like this, for which we use Anypoint Studio. Okay, so here we can design, we use API Designer and Flow Designer. Okay, now come to the exchange, that is also a part of control plane. Okay, so we have already seen that. Here you can share or import and discover your assets like this in your application. It also helps you to create a portal where you can check the API specification, do mock testing and documentation. We already covered this, but I'm just repeating you to understand exactly what is control plane. Now the management center, that is API manager. Okay, so this is the place where you can manage your application. Okay, you can apply policies, you can give some access rights. Okay, so this is all this thing. When we will have any application deployed, then we will see how we can manage our API here. Okay. So here we on the APIs we create some proxies. We can like if these are the API groups. We can also create some API groups here. Okay, so this is about API manager. Now come to the next part, that is runtime manager. That is also a part of our control plane. Here we can manage application deployment for Cloud Hub or like customer hosted or runtime fabric. The customer hosted runtime fabric, after this one I will cover what exactly it is. Okay, so here we can set up VPCs, we can apply alerts, we can create servers, we can uh, utilize these load balancers. So like create server groups, clusters, alert notification for Mule application. This all can be done under the runtime manager. Okay, now come to the next one, that is our access management. So this is the access management. Guys, are you able to see my screen, right? Hello? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So here we can manage user roles and permissions. We can manage organizations. We can enable multi-factor authorization. We can enable identity providers. We can check about object store. We can check the audit logs. So these things we can do in the our access management. Okay. And next is there is. Okay, we don't have. There is a partner manager also that is used for B2B integration. So there we can perform EDI related transaction and transformation. So that doesn't come into the trial account. Okay, so same like this API manager, runtime manager, there is a partner manager also. Okay, that because this is a trial account, right? So that doesn't include, means that option is not available under the partner manager. Okay. So next is our API monitoring. This is the monitoring part. Okay, here we can monitor our application by clicking like we can select in which environment. So there will be a application, we can select that application and there we can monitor each how much CPU utilization for that application, how many incoming requests are there, how many are failed. All those monitorings we can do under the any point monitoring, right? So next is our secret manager. So secret manager, it is we use this to manage certificates, key store, trust store configurations, to manage shared secret keys like username and password, manage TLS configurations. So for all those kind of things, we use this secret manager. Okay, so these are all the part of our control plane. Okay, and in runtime plane, like we have runtime engine and services like runtime engine and services. So this is all about like our anypoint platform, and this is more about like runtime engine and its services. Okay, so next is like this is just a overview. So first, like today's topic is deployment models. So first, how to choose deployment model. We covering like what is deployment models, but how to choose those deployment models, right? So deployment model, there are different parameters that we consider when we choose the deployment model. So number one is cost. What is the cost? How much will be the cost and how it will affect the budget and all. Well, it depends on existing infrastructure, if we have an infrastructure or not. Based on that, we select the deployment model. Okay, and if we have our own infrastructure, we want to move to the cloud or not? Okay, so number of APIs, how many number of APIs we have. So these kind of factors based on these factors, we choose our deployment model. Okay, so like in first slide, I told you there are three models fully cloud based. So number one, we cover the fully cloud based. So in that, runtime plane is completely hosted by MuleSoft, and also the control plane hosted by MuleSoft. Okay, so that is completely, I would say, like a cloud hub. Okay, so when we need to opt for cloud hub, so these are the points, like when you are fine that your data is leaving your own infrastructure, like your on-premise environment. If you are okay with that, then then you can go for this model, like fully cloud hub based. If you don't have a separate infrastructure or management or a complete different infrastructure team, then you can go for this. And if your organization is a startup and you have very low budget, like you don't want to manage your own infrastructure and all, then you can go with this cloud hub option. Okay, and also there is no legal regulations involved with the data. And if you don't have a time or you don't have a number of resource to set up the entire cloud infrastructure, you have very small number of applications, and you don't want to wish to invest into a big cloud infrastructure and all. Okay, so then you can go for this cloud hub infrastructure, means cloud hub option. Okay, and further if you go for this, then further you can opt for shared load balancer and dedicated load balancer. Okay, so that is also a separate topic, what is shared load balancer and dedicated load balancer. So I generally tell you the like difference. So shared load balancer is like by default in all the environments. It provides the basic functionality like TCP load balancing, but dedicated load balancer like it is to avoid lower rate limit in SLB. To avoid lower rate limit in SLB, we use DLB. Okay. Shared load balancer doesn't allow to configure custom SSL certificate and proxy rules. I repeat again, shared load balancer does not allow to configure custom SSL certificates and proxy rules. But in DLB, all applications can be hosted under single domain. So this is the main difference. If any interviewer asks you what is the difference between shared load balancer and dedicated load balancer, you can define all these points. Okay, so shared load balancer does not allow to configure custom SSL certificates. Dedicated load balancer allow us to customize the SSL certificates. Okay, so this kind of some common differences between shared SLB and DLB. So SLB is shared load balancer, DLB is dedicated load balancer. SLB is by default, dedicated load balancer. We need to create it. Okay, so the thing is, load balancers are mainly depending on the criticality of the data or the certificates which you wish to use. That is, if you wish to host your application on a private or public network. So in that way, a load balancers depends. Okay, so pros of cloud deployments is high availability, load balancing, cloud hub logging, cloud hub monitoring, security updates, troubleshooting, automated patches, updates will be applied. So like here, as I have shown you, everything is available here on the Cloud Hub. So first of all, there's high availability because it's managed by MuleSoft. Okay, by default load balancing is there, shared load balancer, and you can apply your own dedicated load balancer. Cloud Hub logging is available. You don't need any separate logging tool. Okay, security updates, any updates on Mule Runtime Engine, you can easily get it here. You don't need to be means it will automatically applied. You just need to select. Okay, so if any new patches in the Mule Runtime Engine or any new updates in Cloud Hub, you will easily get it. You don't need to worry about that. Okay, so these are some pros of Cloud Hub, and some consequences are like these Cloud Hub deployment doesn't support domain projects. Okay, and workers could be expensive. I will explain about the workers later, because like when you have any when you deploy any applications, you need to select some workers and vCores. Okay, so workers, when you each worker cost you. Okay, so workers can be expensive. That is a consequence. That is really a big consequence, I would say. Okay, so that is a really important one. So this is all about fully cloud hosted, that is cloud up. Now second is fully customer hosted. So fully customer hosted means the runtime plane and control plane both are on premise. Okay. So when we opt for on premise, when you are not fine to share your data or metadata, leaving your on premise environment, you don't want to share that out of your infrastructure or your on premise environment, then you choose this fully customer hosted deployment model. Okay. So and second one is an established organization can go for this. And if you are not planning for the cloud migration, if you are not planning for that, then go for this one. Okay. So also when you don't have cost related obligations and you are perfectly fine managing your on premise infrastructure, you have a separate team for that. You are easily manageable. You don't have any cost constraints. You have enough budget. Then we go for the fully customer hosted model. Okay, and also because your data is in your own environment, then it provides a greater security. Okay, because every data that relates to you is in your own environment, is in your own premise. Okay, so that is I would say that is the biggest point, and it provides a big security for our data. Okay, so benefits of fully on premise, I would say, like first one is this only. It provides greater security and complete control over Mule instances, network, security policies, everything. You have complete control over that. MuleSoft doesn't control anything. You will control everything. You will have your own infrastructure teams, your own IT teams that will manage everything. Okay, and here we can create a common domain project to reference configurations of different Mule applications. But like we create some configurations in our project, right? So for that we can create a separate domain projects, and those domain projects we can refer in our projects. We don't need to create every time those configurations, but that facility we don't get in the cloud hub. Okay, so that is the main benefit. And uh, means these are the main benefits, I would say. And this is all about like fully customer hosted, that is kind of on premise. And third one is hybrid. Hybrid means like MuleSoft plus customer hosted. So runtime plane is on premise and control plane is handled by MuleSoft. Okay, so when we go for this, when you want to opt for first the customer hosted runtime plane. Customer hosted mind it is hosted on GCP, Azure, AWS, etc. And control plane that is completely hosted by MuleSoft. Sorry. When we need to opt for the hybrid, when we are fine with data metadata leaving the organization. Okay, when our data and our metadata is leaving our on premise. So in that case, we are completely fine. And when we are planning for cloud migration, then also we can go for this. And when we are planning to retain our existing infrastructure, and later on in future we want to move to cloud-based infrastructure, so we can think about this deployment model. Okay, so here we have MuleSoft hosted control plane. So that is like about the control plane, we don't need to worry. So because it's completely taken care by MuleSoft. Okay, and also when we are thinking about a cost saving by trying to moving from on premise, and then like the pain involved in maintaining on premise systems, because when we maintain everything on our premise systems, then definitely there is a cost. We need a separate team, we need to create our own infrastructure. So that is like when we are thinking for some cost cuttings and all. So then I would say we can go for this deployment model. Okay, so some pros of hybrid model is we can utilize shared resources like using domain project. We can reduce latency. Uh, so these two are like some pros of hybrid models. There are many more, but I can remember these two. And some consequences are like scalability is very difficult in case you wish to add new servers. Okay, so that is difficult in case of hybrid model. We need to maintain some part of infrastructure because runtime is on on-premise, control plane is with the MuleSoft. So definitely there we are maintaining some part of infrastructure. We need to take care for updates and patches manually because our runtime plane is on on-premise. So we are maintaining that, not the MuleSoft. Okay, so any updates, any patches for runtime engine for Mule runtime, we need to be taken care for that. So this is like all about three deployment models. Okay, so I will like I would conclude all in a small summary, like choosing the MuleSoft deployment model that is best suited to your requirements can be challenging, like with many factors like such as data security, cost, that latency, throughput, available of resources. So it is important to think through short-term and long-term vision and like growth of your landscape before finalizing any one deployment model. Okay, so I hope this is I hope you understood about the deployment models, three deployment models, and how to choose all those deployment models. Okay, so next is in the last class we created hello world API. Okay, and in today's class we'll gonna deploy this API in Cloud Hub. Okay, so let me first check this API. Okay, so it is deployed payload from variable. It is so now we stop it and we'll see what are the options we have. Okay, so first option, like if we are gonna deploy the Mule application, so very first option is like just click or right click on this application and there is a option like anypoint platform and then just deploy to Cloud Hub. So this is the first option, and when you will click on it, it will give you a pop-up. One moment. It will give you a pop-up to connect with your anypoint platform. Sorry, anypoint platform with use by using your username and password. Okay, so it's opening it. We will just provide our username and password and it will connect for us everything. But before that, deploying this, there are two I will show you, like by deploying the jar file manually on Runtime Manager and using Anypoint Studio. So two options are there. There are other options also, like you can use, there are a couple of options. For example, you can use Cloud Hub APIs and Mule Maven plugin. Like in Mule Maven plugin means in the POM file you can give you can add a plugin with username and password of Anypoint Studio and all. With that you can deploy. There is Cloud Hub command line interface. With that also you can deploy your API, but I am showing you like with the help of Anypoint Studio and with the help of Runtime Manager. In future, I think I will show you a separate class I will take, like how we can use Cloud Hub APIs to deploy or undeploy our APIs and also Mule Maven plugin. So these four options I will cover: Anypoint Runtime Manager, this one, using Anypoint Studio, Cloud Hub API, and Mule Maven plugin. Let me add those also. Cloud Hub API and Mule Maven plugin. Okay, so these four options we gonna cover. Let me go back to the Anypoint Studio. Okay, it's taking some time. No issues. Once it will open and we'll add our credentials. In the meantime, I show you here the runtime manager. So this is the, I hope everyone created a trial account and create means, I think you guys already doing uh, some practice. Okay, it's taking some time, no issues. It open, but issues. Okay, in the meantime, I do one thing. Because it's taking some time using Anypoint Studio, so I show you the next option, Runtime Manager, and we'll come back to the first one. Okay, so here in the Runtime Manager, we have different environments like design and sandbox, different environments. So I will just select the sandbox. You can switch the environments like this. I can select, I show you again. So this option, if you see my cursor, this option is design. Click on it. You will get switch environment pop up and you can select any environment. When you are working on a real project, then your platform admin will assign you different environments like development, QA, staging, prod, non-prod, UAT. Okay, so you can select any wherever you want to deploy, you need to select accordingly. I'm selecting like sandbox, so just select the sandbox and click on switch. And it will give you an option. That means it will open a sandbox environment. If you can see here, it's a sandbox. Now deploy an application. Click on deploy application because we want to deploy an application. It will open this pop, this window or this page. It's the same like this one. Okay, so here means if we use a runtime manager, so we what we do exactly, we deploy a jar file manually on the runtime manager. Okay, so it means when we add the jar file here and then we, after adding the jar file, after giving the application name, then we just click on this here, the deploy application. It will deploy the application and we were able to utilize that application. Okay, so just I will give you a name. First, I will show you something. Hello world. So it do some checks. Anypoint platform do some checks. For example, here does not start or end with dash. If you, for example, if you do this dash, it will say, it will give it as wrong. So first validation failed. Next does not start with internal. Like if you start like internal hyphen, so that is not correct. Okay, so these are some, some validation checks. I will just take the screenshot. Okay, I can take this one. Okay, no problem. Okay, and next is maximum length is 42 characters. So whatever API name you are giving for that, you can have maximum 42 characters, not more than that. If you have more than that, if you give more than 42 characters, then you will get a deployment error. Okay, and minimum length in the same way, maximum length is 42, minimum length is 3. Sec, it's showing an error like application name is available. Okay, I come back to this point. First, we'll cover this required and only letters. So required means we need to give this name, then only means we need to give the application name. So we are giving, that's why it's correct. Only letters, numbers or dashes are allowed. That is also correct. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 validations are there in which one is getting failed for us. That is application name is available. So this hello world application is already available. But how? We didn't deploy any application. We don't, if you go back to applications, there is no application. We did not have any application here. Then why it is giving the error that hello world is already available? Okay, so hello world is already available. You know what, it is like when you deploy any application on Cloud Hub, because it's a public cloud, it's a trial account and it's like a public cloud. So here you need to give always, you need to give always a unique name that is never been used till now. Okay, so there is a post also for this. Let me show you that. Application names. There is a documentation, I guess this. No. Okay, let me type in this runtime manager, time manager, and deploying to Cloud Hub application. Okay, and I think it's docs.soft.com. Runtime manager. Is there any spelling mistake? Randomly deploying to cloud. Okay, this one. Okay, so this is the document where if you search, okay, application name. So application name can contain between 3 and 42 characters. This they cannot contain space or other characters. It is explaining that same, validations. Okay, and you cannot change the name of an app after you deploy. Once you deploy any applications, you cannot change its name. So whatever name you are giving here, if you want to change its name, you have to delete the application completely. Then only you need to redeploy with the different name. Okay, and to avoid domain conflicts, the application name must be globally unique across Cloud Hub. For this reason, creating a naming convention to ensure unique application names. Okay, so here we need to give always a unique name because it's a public cloud, and maybe this application is deployed by someone else, and that's why it is taking it as application name is available. So what we can do, like we have our application like hello world. Okay, so we can change it to something hello world API. Let me check first it's available or not. Hello world API. Okay, is there hello world application API? Okay, and need to start with small letter. Okay, so we can give this name. We can rename our application, like right click and refactor, rename. Just click this, update the references wherever the hello world reference available. It will update all the references with this name. So click OK. It will rename our API and we will redeploy it on local and then we'll proceed. And one more thing I want to show you in this meantime, it's changing the name. Let me go here. So deployment target, because we need to use Cloud Hub, and this is the logo for the Cloud Hub deployment. It shows like this. For Runtime Fabric and other things, we get different logos. So this is kind of, like a small kind of, if you see this sign, it means it's a Cloud Hub. So here is one option because it's a trial account and all, and we are just dealing with the Cloud Hub. So we are getting this option like Cloud Hub selected. Application file, we need to choose a file. Jar file, will select a jar file. If you see the application is name is changed, let me redeploy it. Go to run configurations. And guys, whenever you deploy any API, so when you go to run configurations, you will get that application name here, Mule applications. Okay, here Mule runtime servers. You can change the Mule runtime, and here clear application data. Click always, not never and prompt. Click always option. Okay, because if you click on always, it will clear unnecessary caching and all, and it will give you a fresh deployment. Okay, so please keep in mind, if you are getting any weird error during the deployment, just try with this after changing something. If you're getting any error and all, like weird error, I'm not remember what is the error. Sometimes we get it, like for example, we change something and it does not reflect. Okay, so we can go to runtime configuration, click on always, and then redeploy. It will redeploy it. Okay, so and second option is when you click on right click on this hello world API, and if you go to show in, and if you go to System Explorer, I think I covered this. So if you click on System Explorer, it will give you a directory. It means a location where your application is available in Studio Workspace. Okay, so here everything is available. You can, if you want, you can edit like in Notepad Plus, where you can open the files and you can do whatever you want. So when we deploy any application, it creates a jar file inside the target folder. This was our Hello World Station API. Inside that we have different folders. In that we have different folders and files. In that we have a target folder. Inside the target folder we have different folders, and there we'll have a jar file. So this jar file we need to deploy on Mule means Runtime Manager. Let's go back to Anypoint Studio and we'll see our application is deployed or not. I think it's deployed, and let me hit open the Postman. And it will, oh, I think it's giving debug logs, because last time, let's stop this, because in the last class I was showing you about logger. I was explaining you about logger, right? So inside SRC business sources we have log4j2.xml, and here we need to change it to info. Save it, close, clear the console, close this file, and just run hello world station API. Okay, and our Postman is open. We already have this hello world. I think we can give any name because we have the path as /star. So anything will work here. So let's redeploy this option and we'll move further. Guys, whatever I'm explaining, everything is important for your interviews also. If you already cleared MCD level 1, so whatever I'm covering today, it's very important. If sometimes if you give the good interview, they move forward and they ask you these questions. Okay, they ask you different questions, like what are the different deployment models, in which deployment model you worked or you practiced if you are a fresher. Okay, so they ask you like this questions. So focus on today's class. Okay, everything is really important to crack MCD level 1 exam and also to give a interview. Okay, it's deploying. Okay, in the meantime I will explain you other options. So there is runtime version. We can select any runtime version, like for if you in your if you are deploying your application on 4.4.0 or 4.4.3, so then you can select accordingly. If you are deploying on older versions, then click on show old patch releases. It will, I think it should show that. Okay, because maybe it's a trial version, so it will show you only last two runtime versions. So I'm selecting 4.4.0. Then there is a worker size. Worker size is like 0.1 to different worker sizes there. And there is worker. In trial version, we get only one worker by default. You cannot change it. But here the question is, what is mule worker and what is worker size? So mule worker is a dedicated I would say it is a dedicated Mule instance that runs integration application deployed to Cloud Hub. So worker have some special characteristics, like each worker has the size. Each worker, one worker like have different sizes, like here. 0.1 V core have 15 MB memory, 0.2 V core have 1 GB memory. Okay, so each worker has the size and specific amount of capacity to process the data. Okay, so we use these workers and worker size to process our data. Okay, and each worker runs in a specific cloud region like US, European Union, Asia, specific Asia, like that. And each worker deployed in an isolated container than other applications. And one more is there. I think it's each worker is monitored independently. Okay, so let me show you size of different workers. So worker 0.1 worker a 0.1 V core have heap size 500 MB and memory is 8 GB. Okay, so if you go back, 0.1 V core is having 500 MB heap size and memory is 8 GB. And correspondingly for different V cores, like different workers and their different heap size and memory we have. Okay, so maximum meta space size for application deployed to Cloud Hub is 256 MB. Okay, regardless of worker size, and initial meta space size is 128 MB. So regardless of worker size, we have meta space size is 256 MB and initial meta space size is 128 MB. Okay, so application deployed to Cloud Hub can be like, I think some people heard about the name of scaling and all. Okay, so I would explain you this thing like this infrastructure of AWS. So Cloud Hub, Cloud Hub, it is hosted by MuleSoft and it runs in the AWS ecosystem. That is Amazon Web Service global infrastructure. It has zero downtime deployments and also include load balancer at the front of every application. It means it will balance the load on that application. So it is managed completely by the vendor, that is MuleSoft. So that is complete, infrastructure. If I make it this slide bigger, moment. So you can see different regions. We have like South America, Asia Pacific. Okay, and in Asia Pacific we have these blue dots. So these are different regions we have. Okay, so in Dublin, Frankfurt, US East Virginia, US West California. So we have different regions uh, for AWS. Okay, so what do we say? If yeah, so this is all about like region and worker and vcore. So in your interview, if like interviewer ask you what is worker in MuleSoft, so you just need to say worker is a dedicated instance of Mule hosted on AWS. Is like worker is a dedicated instance of Mule hosted on AWS and is used to run your integration application. I repeat it again. What is worker in MuleSoft? Worker is a dedicated instance of Mule hosted on AWS and it is used to run your integration application. And features of workers are like its capacity. Each worker has a specific amount of capacity to process the data. Okay, like this. This is the table. And isolation. There is one feature like isolation. Each worker run in a separate container from every other application. Okay, and locality. Each worker runs in a specific worker cloud such as US, European Union, and or like Asia Pacific. Okay, so how many? There is one more question in generally interviewer ask. How many Mule applications you can deploy in one worker in Cloud Hub? So only one Mule application can be deployed in MuleSoft in one worker. Okay, and what is minimum maximum worker size available in Cloud Hub? So these are the workers. 0.1 is the minimum and 16 vCore is the maximum. Okay, so this is I would say all about our options here, worker and worker size. Okay, and there is some properties here, these properties, that is the properties like Some properties we use like runtime properties that comes here. You can add it by your own like this and its value, and then it will go to the next series means it added. Okay, and you can delete it. And logging like info level debug, and you can select your package name like categories if you want what categories, like last time I explained the categories and all, you can select accordingly. If you want to print error and what is the category for that, you can write it here, and that's done. So you will see all error logs in the your application logging on Runtime Manager, means any point logging. Okay, these are some options. Okay, and that is like automatically start when not responding. So when your application is not responding or some, generally you are, because it is about region and all, like sometimes your, the regions generally don't go down, but like this availability zone and all, like your application is deployed on uh, one availability zone. Each region have different zones, different availability zones. Okay, like this, like AWS region have 3 different zones. Okay, if one zone is not available, like for example, your application is deployed to one worker, only to one worker, like this here, one worker. Okay, so what will happen? So application is deployed to one availability zone like this. Okay, out of 3 availability zones into one AWS region. Okay, in case of availability zone failure, if one availability zone is failure or unavailable, so MuleSoft will automatically restart your application in other availability zone. It may experience some downtime, but it will restart and it will deploy, means it will restart your application according to next availability zone. Okay, so the distance between each availability zone is variable, and like the distance between each availability zone is like between 350 miles. It does not extend 350 miles. It is between 350 miles between 2 availability zones. Okay, so this is not gonna come into MCD level 1, but this is, I'm giving you an extra knowledge about all these things. So please understand, because it's sometimes interviewer ask you, if you are giving a good interview, then they can jump onto these kind of questions. Okay, so this was all about one worker, but if you want high availability, okay, and for example your application is deployed in 2 availability zones, like when you are deploying your application on different two, means like not one worker, on 2 workers and all. So what will happen? So if you see this diagram, okay, so in this diagram we want high availability, so application will be deployed to 2 availability zone out of 3. Okay, so in case of one failure, one agent is failed, then all requests will be served by other application deployed on other agent. So in this case, we don't face any downtime experiences. So this is that's why we use, for high availability, we deployed our application on multiple workers. Okay, so in production, generally we use 2 workers because we don't want, any downtime and all. And if any availability zone is failed, then it should available on other availability zone. It should serve by other availability zone. So in production, generally we use, not generally, means it's recommended to use 2 workers. Okay, because it gives you high availability for this one. Okay, so this was all about the zones and regions. Hmm. So some people, I know some people know about AWS and all, so they can correlate these things easily. Because if you are AWS certified, then you know what are these things. Okay, but if you are a fresher and beginner, so whatever I'm explaining, it's enough to understand or to give an interview. Once you are in the project and you talk with your architects and your teams, or you understand the things, you will easily cover up these topics, and you will easily able to correlate all these things, whatever I'm explaining. Okay. And this is covered. And then is one more topic is about scalability. Okay. So scalability means it means how an application handles the loads. Okay. So like how many requests are coming, how much bigger payload is coming. So uh, we can categorize this. We can increase our scalability by by categorizing in two types, like vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. So vertical scaling means this question is very common when we attend any interview. Okay, so vertical scaling is to increase the worker size. Okay, when you want to process the CPU intensive APIs or process a large payload, these lines are very important. If you want to process a large payload with a small number of requests, increase the vCore size. Okay, this is the vCore size. Okay, and what is horizontal scaling? It is to increase the number of workers if you want to increase the throughput of high frequency small payloads. Then we need to increase the number of workers. So it means it is a horizontal scaling. Okay, so these two terms are very important in terms of scalability, and definitely you will, when you will be working in a project, or maybe some people are already faced this. Generally, they ask you to maintain the scalability of your APIs. Then you go with horizontal and vertical scaling. You increase the vCores or you increase the workers. So that depends. That depends on your payload and the like your size of payload and number of requests. Okay, so let's go back to Anypoint platform. I explained all these things. Okay, I hope you guys understood. Let me, the application is deployed. Let me go back to the target folder because our jar file is there. So if you see, this is the jar file. Let me open it into our directory, System Explorer. It will give you a directory, that folder. Copy, not copy. What we'll do, we'll copy this path, go back here, choose the file, upload the file. Okay, and here we will select this file, open this. Okay, if you see here, this is automatically, you know, enabled the deploy application because we have fulfilled all the required conditions. We have given the API name, we have selected the target, we have selected the runtime version, worker size is already there, application file, and just deploy the application. Okay, just click on the deploy the application. Okay, so it will, if you see this line, blue line, it means it is loading the file, uploaded successfully, and it is deploying. So it is deploying the application. That is Hello World Station API. So it will deploy our application. This is the one option to deploy our application. But here I will let you know in further classes uh, because we need to complete API lifecycle. Okay, so in API lifecycle, if you go back to the slides here, we need to cover up this API manager. We just downloaded our API in Runtime Manager, but we need to cover API manager. So in next slides, I will show you how we, how we manage our API using API manager and how we link our Runtime Manager in with the API manager. Okay. So for that we use API auto discovery. So if interviewer asks you how you link your runtime manager with API manager, so you can say like we need to use API auto discovery. Okay, so that is one. So it will take some time to deploy. So in the meantime, I go to the second option. Okay, no, I cannot go. I need to delete this. No problem. We'll wait. In the meantime, I think last class somebody asked a question uh, like what we say. I think somebody asked about the endpoint, what endpoint we need to use to hit the API, or which endpoint we need to provide when we are deploying any application and all. Okay, so when we deploy our application, okay, so it gives like this it is deployed successfully. If you see it started, if it is green, it means started. If it is yellow, I think ambient color, then some warning or something is there. If it is red, it means there is some error. So if you go back to the logs, your application is started. Okay, so that is the thing. What I was explaining, go back to settings. Yeah, so this is the app URL. So it is automatically giving us this URL. So if you see this URL, what does it mean? So here it is giving your app name plus the region, that USEE2. Okay, that is your by default region. Here, if you go back to this diagram, it was showing this, the region. Okay, because we are using a trial account, so it will by default will use this USE2 region. Okay, and then cloudhub.io. So the understanding of this, like here, because it's a public cloud, so the by default ports, like here by default ports will be 8081, because our API is HTTP. If our API is HTTPS with HTTPS protocol, then port will be 8082. Okay, so keep in mind, if you are using public cloud and there is a by default shared load balancer, then our API ports are 8081 in case of HTTP, and in case of HTTPS, it will set as 8082. Okay, so that is by default. It comes under by default load balancing. Okay, so each application deployed on Cloud Hub has a CNAME record that refers to the load balancer. For example, this our API name plus this region plus cloudhub.io. Okay, so this is a kind of CNAME that every application use on the Cloud Hub. So Mule apps deployed in Cloud Hub must listen to HTTP with port 8081 or HTTPS with port 8082. Okay, if we are using virtual private cloud, that is if we are using dedicated load balancer, if that is a different concept. What like VP, there is some VPC kind of thing comes up. Okay, so VPC stand for a virtual private cloud. So it allows you to create logical networks in the cloud where you can deploy or run the resources securely. Okay, so there another concept comes, like not concept, uh, another ports like HTTP private port and HTTPS private port, that is 8091 and 8092 comes into the picture. So 80981 accessible from anywhere outside VPC or public internet. 8082 accessible from anywhere outside VPC or public internet over HTTPS protocol. 801 on HTTP, 8082 on HTTPS, but outside the VPC. But if there is a VPC existing, then 8091 over HTTP and 8092 over HTTPS. So these are main common, some interviewer ask, and you should know, you should be aware of these concepts. Okay, so these are kind of some firewall rules. Okay, so I was explaining this. Yes. So let me take this app URL now. Okay, that I already explained. That is like app name dot region dot cloudhub dot io to access applications directly over shared load balancer, because we have on this style account, like because we are not using any VPC, so by default there is a shared load balancer. Okay, and this is the URL to access our hello world station API. Okay, and I think there is one more to access the directly. I think there is mule worker hyphen app name dot region dot cloudhub dot io. So let me copy first this one. Copy, go back to Postman. Here, I'll just give this hello world. So we are, I think there's some things we need to provide. I think this is not we need to use, because this is directly over the shared load balancer. So let me check mule worker hyphen app name. to access workers directly. We can use this to access workers directly. What is happening? Maybe I'm missing
081
something.
is not. But
I'm missing something. I think I'm missing something here. What I'm missing? Anybody, any idea what I'm missing? One moment, I need to check. Something is wrong. What I'm missing here. I think it's HTTP Mule worker is for direct to access directly. Okay, E2. This is hello world, and we don't need to use anything else. API.us. This is fine actually. Bad gateway. Okay, let me check what is error. Okay, I will show it. I will fix this once we cover the second option. I'll check it and we'll show you again. Okay, so this is the application that we deployed manually and it's deployed successfully. And this is worker 0. We have deployed on one worker, and these are the logs that we means when we hit our API. So we can check these logs. Okay, so this is the one option. Now what I will do, I will show you the applications. Earlier there were no applications. Now we have these applications deployed. What I will do, I will click on this and I will delete this one. Okay, because I need to show you. Okay, not a problem. I will show you like one more thing. One option is done. We deployed our application locker and manually uploaded the jar file onto the runtime manager and it deployed successfully. And second option is click on your application Anypoint Studio, go to Anypoint platform. I repeat it again, right click on your API, go to Anypoint platform, then there is option deploy to Cloud Hub. Let's click on deploy to Cloud Hub. Okay, so Anypoint platform. To select this, it will open the window to give us the username and password like this. So here we will provide our username and password. Okay, just give the username password, sign in. It will open you the same window that we like. Same window means same pop-up. It will give you a pop-up that will having your Anypoint platform open. Time, not a problem. Okay, so it is giving this. So what you can see now, it is a pop-up after giving the username and password. So if you can see the error, the same error will be here. What does see? It will give you the application name is available because we already deployed it manually. Okay, so what we will do, we'll go back and we'll delete this application. To run this application, you will need to oh yes, because we are deleting it. So click on this and delete application. So application removed successfully. Now go back here and just close this one, and we will see again. Right click, go to endpoint platform, deploy to Cloud Hub. It will ask you again the username and password. I think it will not ask you again because we just now give and it login for 7 days. There when we were giving our username and password, there were an option that how many days it will be login for you without asking any username and password. So that is by default 7 days. So this time it will not ask you any username and password. So if you see this time it is a green. So it means it is well passing all the validations. OK, and same thing, you application file and all. So just click on deploy. So guys, these are the two options that we use to deploy, but we have we'll cover in future once we will this hello world API will show when we will integrate with different things. Like next class, I will start with the database integration. Then I will show you some data weaves and some other characters like error handling, batch processing, scatter gather. Okay, so everything I will show you, and then will cover those options also. I will try to cover those options, those deployment options also. Okay, these ones. Cloud by using Cloud Hub API and using Mule Maven plugin. So Cloud Hub API is very simple. Everything is created by Cloud Hub. Means MuleSoft. There by default APIs are there. You need to hit by the Postman, and you just need to update your jar file in the Postman and just hit the request, and it will automatically deploy your application on the Cloud Hub. Okay, so these are the options. Okay, so it is deploying. You may close this window at any time. Okay, and you can open this in the browser. So it is deploying. If you go back here, you see we deleted, but it is deploying your application. Okay, so these were the two options that we covered. We faced some issue that 502. I will fix this because we are already running over the time. So I will show you in the next class. I will fix this issue and I will explain you why this issue were coming. But for today's we are done, and in the next class I will start with database in installation, and then yeah, before showing you database integration, I will show you how we can convert our HTTP API, our API that is having HTTP protocol, how we can convert it into HTTPS. Okay, and then next we'll show you the database integration. And now after that, we will slowly move to the data weave. Some examples of the data weave. I will show you how we can fix, how we can transform the message. Okay, and then I will show you in the next class. In coming classes, I will show you like error handling, scatter gather, for each, parallel for each. These kind of integrations that generally comes in MCD level 1 exam. So for today's class, it's over, and thank you for joining today's class.